Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Conti right here on our Corvette vlog. Yes, it is a Corvette vlog, but I said it's story time today in the vlog, so why not have a comfortable, fun setting if you're going to sit down and tell a couple of stories. So I grabbed some of my daughter's friends. This Caterpillar is actually pretty cool. I got this when I was coming home from the bash one day, and it's like 6 feet long, and I just love it. And of course, this is from the Five Nights at Freddy's thing. I mean, if you got kids out there, you know what I'm talking about. I got to take a little sip here to get the show started. A little difficult. If you got pets, you know how it is. You always get that one that just wants to be the center of attention, wants to be on your lap. This was Freddy, Teddy, whatever his name is. Okay, you guys, this is going to be a distraction, so I got some story details. Everybody's got to beat it. Yeah, I just snapped my fingers. That means you guys got to get back in the bag. Try that again. All right. That's much better. Hey, it was fun to intro the show with that because it is story time today on Coffee with Conti, but I think having all those guys hanging out would have been a little bit of a distraction. Thank you for joining us, you guys. Before we get started with today's show, I was thinking about this idea, so rather than think about it, rather than talk about it, how about just do it? So next week, the goal is, unless there's a technical difficulty, the goal is next week on the show on Coffee with Conti, we're going to go live with you guys, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. I usually do tea, that's coffee. It's really good. I never really do a live show here on YouTube, and I always say, hey, I'm having a conversation with you guys. So why not have a conversation with you guys live on the channels? Join us next Sunday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. And if you got a question you want me to address on the show, then go ahead and email that to me at the email address up on the screen. Now, I know the other day I was in a hurry. I was really busy, and I was trying to get the video up talking about the closeout deals for 2018. And, of course, I'm just a horrible typist, and my eyes are starting to get really blurry, and I put up the wrong email address on the screen. I put it in an I or something like that. But I put my cell phone in there so you guys were able to text me. But I think you knew that, Rick, you got to screw that up. So I did double check. The email is spelled correctly. Email me your questions you'd like me to address on tomorrow's show so we can kind of start with that. I'll have a couple of bullet points. And then we'll just kind of talk to you live and go through that. It could be a 15-minute deal. I don't want it to run too long because it very easily could on this channel, but we'll try to keep it a little bit shorter, and I'll try to get to everybody's question the best I can. So look forward to seeing you next Sunday right here on this channel, on this show, Coffee with Conti, talking Corvettes with you guys. I'll tell you what, I am tired. I need a little kick in the butt there. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the show, you guys. Today we're going to talk about, in just a moment, why I have this. Look at this. Isn't this cool? This is the real deal right here. This is pretty heavy. This is a die-cast, obviously you can see it's a die-cast UPS truck, and why I have this in my office and why it's been in my office for 15 years. I want to talk to you about a couple other stories. When I'm sitting here doing business with you guys, whether it be in the office or you're on the phone or on email, sometimes some stories ensue about purchases, about my experiences and things like that. So I want to share a couple of things with you. One was a situation, this goes, oh my gosh, this goes way back, and talking about fraudulent deals. You do so much business out of state that you have to be very cautious about fraudulent deals. And you know, over the years, and when you're in sales, you got a kind of a sense when you're talking to people. Not all salespeople have that, so I'm really weird about who takes the phone calls and that kind of stuff. I handle all the calls myself, unless you call the main dealership line, then you go through this call center thing that's brain damage. Hey, that's today's day and age. I want to talk to somebody right now. Even if they can't help me, I want to talk to somebody. Sorry, I don't even want to get off on that tangent today. All right, anyways, I just know some things to look out for in those type of situations. I can throw a couple of softball questions out there and tell that, hey, you know what, this is not right. So I had a situation where I had an ID that looked legit, I had an insurance card that looked legit, I had a credit app that looked legit and was approved. Okay, but I was just really kind of, something didn't seem right when I was talking to this guy. So we dug into it, found out that, you know, one phone number didn't match with the credit app, wasn't happy. So I done some more digging and found that clearly this wasn't the guy and who he said he was. So I ended up finding the real guy, and I call him and I said, hey, this is Rick, and I was at another dealership, and I'm just calling to wrap up a few more details on your Corvette lease. He goes, Corvette lease? I ain't buying no, there was some bad words in there, Corvette click. I started laughing. I'm like, okay, so I call the guy back and say, hey, this is Rick again. Hang on a second. You're going to want to talk to me. I said, look, I do national Corvette sales. Right now I've got an approval on a lease for a Corvette in your name. By the time you figure this out, it's going to be too late. Your credit's going to be compromised. You know, It's just going to be a bad situation. So he said, oh, wow, thanks for the phone call. His identity was stolen. He didn't know it. Incidentally, his son was an FBI agent in Chicago. Now, we weren't doing vlogging back then. I'm going back, oh guys, this is going to be close to 20 years. And I would have loved to have been there. So we set up a sting with this guy. And this is how dumb this guy was. I mean, you want to talk about red flags. So I called the guy back. Hey, this is Rick at the dealership. Just want to let you know, everything's all approved for the lease, and we're going to go ahead and set up delivery. When I tell him he's approved for the lease, you know what he says? I am? It's like, you idiot. Yes, you are, moron. So we set up a sting. Well, the customer set up a sting with his son, and apparently, I sent all the docs that he would need to sign, so the guy signed everything, so they got all the evidence that they needed, and they opened up the doors of the semi, and you're under arrest. Gotcha. You're under arrest. And I wasn't there for that. You know what I'm bummed about that though? So I helped that guy out and I saved him a lot of grief, and we got a bad guy off the streets, if you will. But that guy never called me back and said, hey, thanks. He flipped me $100 for lunch or something. I mean, no, never heard from him again. Now, there's a lot of sales guys that were in the building I was in that would have just made that deal, processed that deal, and it would have been just torture for that guy in the future. But Ricky knows. So that's one story that I had for you today on the vlog. And then, did I even say this? Oh, you know what? Did I say that he was an executive from Ford? He retired from Ford. That's why he said, I ain't buying no Corvette. Just retired from Ford. I'm buying a Corvette. Hey, congratulations. Okay, I gotta sit up a little bit or I'm gonna fall asleep on you guys. I mean, not that I'm bored talking to you guys. I just get so comfortable on this couch, and I can literally sit anywhere. I can fall asleep. Fill this room, crank up the music. Hey, you guys have a great time. I'm tired. I'm gonna sit here and sleep. You want me to sleep in the middle of the left-hand turn lane? Sure, no problem. Just give me an area that no one's gonna bother me. Like that, I can go to sleep. Okay, this next story is a two-part story, one of which goes back over 20 years ago, and the other part actually happened, almost the same scenario happened yesterday. So how perfect is that for today's Coffee with Conti episode? So back in 97, there was very few dealers that even got a Corvette in 97, and we weren't doing a lot of internet stuff. That really wasn't the game yet. So we had ads in the Corvette and Chevy Trader. And I remember I got a phone call. The guy says, hey, I'm reading this ad. Been calling all over the country. I'm hoping this is not one of those bait and switch ads. This says you have Corvettes in stock. You got 97 Corvettes in stock? I said, well, yes, sir, we do. How many you got? I have 3. Oh, you do? It's like I had 3 cars. Most everything was sold. I had 3 cars. Like, oh, really? Well, I want to talk to this guy. He goes, well, what do you got? I said, well, I have a blue coupe. I have a black coupe. You got, stop right there. Tell me about the black one. I go, well, it's on the showroom floor. I go through the options, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'm from Flint, Michigan. He goes, I will be there when you open up in the morning. I said, okay, great. So I get to the dealership before anybody, and as I'm walking through the showroom and look down there, and they're like little kids just peering in. It's like, where's the black one? Where's the black one? I'm like, hang on a second. Go open up the door, greet them, and they are pumped and ready to go. It was like kids waiting in a line at an amusement park to get on the ride. They wanted to get in that Corvette. So I'm sitting in the office. He and I are talking, and his wife's out on the showroom floor. And I'll tell you what, to this day, I would pay anything to have had this on video. But all I can do is tell you the story. So hopefully you have that theater of the mind type scenario as we're talking about it right now. So Dave and I are sitting in the office, and we hear this screaming and like all kinds of noise clatter out. I mean, it was like really disruptive. We're like, what's going on? He says, hey, wait a minute. He goes, I think that's my wife. He's like, what? So we look out my office. I look down the showroom, and sure enough, his wife's standing outside the Corvette, and she's screaming at some lady to get out of her car. So we go down there. She says, you get out of my car. No, I'm here to buy that car. And they're screaming, chairs are flying, and it was a bad scene, man. It was all but pulling hair. I mean, it was crazy. And I'm sitting there just like shocked. I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden he goes over by his wife and says, Rick, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? on a second. Hang on a second. So I looked at the people in the car. I said, folks, I'm sorry, these people were here first. They drove a long way. We're in the middle of negotiation for the car. They said, no, we're here. We want to buy the car. Well, they have first opportunity to say yes or no. I take Dave back to the office. We get everything written up. I go up to the sales manager. I hate those things. They have one of those sales decks. It's like, okay, yes, he's going to buy the car. Here's the deposit. You know, so we do the deal. I have to go back over and tell those folks, I apologize. They are going to take the car. I do need you to get out of the car. And she starts barking at me and stuff like that. Really, really nasty. It was just crazy. I said, hang on a second. I do the ordering for the dealership. Let me double check and see if there's anything else coming in for you. Oh no, she wanted that car and she wanted it right now. So, ma'am, I need to show you something else. She goes, what's that? I go, the door. I just said, it's time to go. So it was just crazy. Almost not as dramatic. Almost the same scenario happened yesterday, right here at Coughlin in Pataskala. In the middle of working with a nice young couple getting their first ever Corvette. I didn't capture any of that on the vlog. It was just a long, crazy, busy day, raining. It was just crazy. But I had a lot of fun working with Ryan and Stephanie for their first ever. It was their first ever new purchase, and it was a new Corvette. So I had another client show up. They had a scheduled appointment too, incidentally. Show up about an hour after they had gotten here. They were walking around the office, walking out a lot. So I take a minute to greet them and trying to juggle. I mean, you're used to doing that when you've been doing this a long time. So they're here to see the same car that Ryan and Stephanie are in the middle of deciding upon. So I greet them, welcome them to the store. They've never been here before. It was a 2018. It was a manual transmission. We've talked about how tough it is to find manual transmissions. And I've got a bunch ordered for you guys in 2019. But they wanted this 18 because they wanted the special, this deal that's out there that just came out of nowhere. We've talked about that here on the channel recently. So I said, hang on just a moment. These folks are in the office getting ready to decide if they're going to move. And he goes, decide nothing. I'm here. I want to buy the car. So really appreciate that. But out of respect, if they've got to at least decide yes or no. They were here first, so please give me just a moment. So they weren't too happy about that. I come back in, Ryan and Stephanie do decide they're going to buy the car. And they were pretty frustrated, disappointed. I had a nice conversation with them, hoping that we have a future opportunity to find something that's going to fit their budget and do the deal. So it was just crazy. So that stuff does happen when you have people that want the same car at the same time. And how do you handle that? I mean, wow. It was just crazy. But that one in 97, oh man, could you imagine? I mean, back, you know, like even right now, like we replayed it and we get like 1 million views. It's like screaming, throwing chairs. It was beautiful. This is great. You know, I have a lot of fun just sitting and talking with you guys. Thank you for joining us here on my Corvette vlog. More stories to come and a delivery. John and his wife were here from Michigan a couple of months ago. We featured them on the vlog when they bought their 2003 50th anniversary. So we told you when he physically picked up the car because the weather wasn't too great up in Michigan, and he's actually right here in Michigan. And that's the great thing about the state of Michigan. Where are you from? You put up your hand. I'm right here, here. So he came back to pick up the car in better weather, and we're going to talk about how you get in the car. That's coming up in just a little bit, and some more stories. So what I want to talk about right now is why I have this UPS truck in my office. Kept a promise to Harry in New York. I've had this in my office, every dealership I've been at, for 15 years, and I'll continue to keep this in my office forever. Super nice guy. And back in 2004, getting ready for the C6 car coming out, again, advertising in those magazines, this guy calls me from New York and he says, you know what, I'm just kind of at the end of my rope here right now. I'm trying to order a 2005 Corvette for my retirement of UPS. Because I've went through 3 dealerships because I saw your ad and it looked really nice, intrigued me to call. He goes, but you know what? He goes, this is my last shot. He goes, I'm just done with this. Goes through the story, and it was kind of the time that some of the Chevy stores were transitioning, and he actually had given deposits to 2 different stores that went out of business, so he didn't get that money back. Then he went to another guy, gave him their money, and they just never got the allocation, didn't really have a clue when it was going to happen, and didn't even give him his money back. So he's pretty much done. So it's a bummer for me to hear that, because I don't want to let a bad shopping experience ruin your enthusiasm for the purchase. And that's happened many times over. So here we are. We're the 4th and final phone call because of our ad. And he says, you know, I want to order a Corvette. Here's what I want to order. I've been through this so many times. I go through the process. He goes, I get it. He goes, because I don't want to send a deposit. I wish you had the car in stock. I said, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order that car for you. Give me all the specs. I'm going to order the car. And I don't need a deposit. When the car comes in, I need you to pay for the car. He goes, oh, that's no problem. He goes, you would do that? I told him, I said, hey, I specialize in nationwide sales, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to buy a car. I'm so sorry for the bad experiences that you've had so far. So order the car, came in right in the timeline that I told him it would. So when he comes in, we've been talking, and he'd seen some of the stuff on my website that I have a lot of die-cast cars. And he says, here, man, he goes, I know, because I know you're into Corvettes, and you got a lot of Corvettes in your office, but I'm so thankful for what you did for me. And it was so easy. He goes, I want to give you this UPS die-cast as an appreciation for helping me out. I'm a retirement gift. And I said, Harry, I go, that is awesome, man. Love this thing. I said, I'll tell you what, dude, I will always, and even to this day it's true, keep this in my office. Here's a couple quick pictures of Harry. And Harry, if you're watching out there, buddy, I hope you're doing great, sir. So as we're transitioning and getting ready for C8 Corvette, we're doing all kinds of crazy things, bolstering that allocation, making great deals for those of you that are buying cars right now. And it reminds me of a story, and I was just talking about this, I forget who it was. You guys are in here, and we're just talking about the marketplace. But I go back to 2013, and Mr. Coughlin is so supportive. He's all pumped up that we've got all kinds of Corvettes, and we're getting ready for this new C7 thing, whatever it is. We didn't even know what it was going to be, but we knew it was going to be hot. So you can't sell off an empty shelf. So we're buying cars, ordering cars, and I think it was January of 2013, and we had, number one, we had the most ZR1s in the country in stock 2 years running, and we had a total, I think it was like 162 or 167 Corvettes in stock in Pataskala, Ohio. If you've been to our store, you know we're in the middle of nowhere. But it's kind of nice. It's just kind of quaint. It's kind of relaxed. There's no pressure. There's not 15 guys jumping at you in the car. Can I help you? Yeah, I mean, we don't have that. It's a whole different atmosphere. So here's the point of the story. So we get all this allocation, and I know that the owner had to extend the floor plan. So he comes in. He comes into my office one night as he's leaving, leans up against the door, and he goes, how you doing, Rick? I said, I'm doing great, sir. Thank you. Then he asked me, he says, do you have enough inventory? And I said, oh yeah, I'm doing great. I got a bunch out there. Then he says, that's good. You have a good night. And as he walks out, I'm thinking, you dummy. That was the wrong answer. You got to read between the lines there. That means you better start selling some cars. That's some of the stuff behind the scenes I wanted to share with you guys, and part of our story time here on our Corvette vlog and our Coffee with Conti edition, as we do every Sunday. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that. Now I know Al doesn't watch the channel, but I know people that know Al that do, so that'll probably indirectly get back to him. But just so you know, sir, yeah, don't worry, I get it. I also appreciate the business opportunities. New car, used car, it doesn't matter. John from Michigan, he got himself a beautiful one-owner 2003 50th anniversary Corvette convertible. Here's when he came to pick up the car. When he was here before, I told you guys we're going to talk about a couple of ways to get in the car, and then one thing you have to avoid that is it's easy to do, and you just do it subconsciously, but you end up destroying the seat because you convertible folks, I think you're that typical convertible guy that you're gonna, have it in the garage and the top's down all the time. Sure. Only pull it out on nice days. Right. So and then that's what I'm talking about. So we'll show you that in a second. But the one thing, you can see John's much taller than I, and I get into C7s the same way I get into all the Corvettes. So I usually like to get in, putting my leg in first this way, and then now, of course, on C4 you couldn't do that. Get in like that because remember this piece stuck out real bad and you had the high sill. I got marks on the shin so bad from getting into C4s. But these, I get in this way, I dip down, then swing my other leg in, and I'm good to go. All right. The other way, a lot of folks sometimes they'll do it, and we talked about it before, but I think it's a little bit tougher as you sit sideways like this, and then it's a little bit more of work. Because you got to grab the steering wheel, and then you got to swing your legs in. So
I'll probably have to do that because of my knees. I don't want to twist my knees.
Right. Just you grab the steering wheel. If it's harder, because you got to swing your leg over and over, so you're not scraping up on this.
Right.
Just makes it a lot easier to get in and out. The manual top's easy to do. So as I'm showing you guys and showing John, I always remind you when you go to take this top down, whether you're going up or down, you always want to bring the top into what I call a sandwich position, which allows you to operate the tonneau cover and go forward. So push this back. So see, it's undone, and there's still pressure here. So this is a great design they had in C5. So as you move this forward, it relieves that pressure, bring it up like a sandwich. You can see the guy that had this before, he obviously wasn't the typical convertible guy, because if the top was down all the time, there'd be a lot of wear marks in it, you know, a lot of stains and stuff like that. So just be wary of that if you do put it down. And then there's a little power button right underneath in here.
Yep.
You'll feel, pop that up. And as you do that, your windows go down automatically. So now when it's in a sandwich, you just don't grab both pieces and shove it back in there, because this part won't clear the trunk. Hold on to this, push the rear in first. It clears the chunk. Then she slides right down in there.
Okay.
And then you're good to go. So here's the, now let me show you, now here's the problem you get, because most of you convertible folks will leave it like this. I'm only gonna take it out on a nice day. Okay, let me show you something. So if this is the case of the top's down, then getting in is a lot easier for you. You don't have to worry about having to duck down and swing legs in. This is what happens. Guys go to get in, they get in like this, and they get in, and then they slide right down on the side bolster all the time. And not putting any pressure on it, this is just for the show, but but that's what happens. And it's so easy because it's so accessible. You're like, oh, this is great, just gonna hop in and go. And you do that, and then this rubs and rubs and rubs over time. This one is not. But that's what happens if you leave the car in this manner to access it. You subconsciously, you don't even think about that. You're just like, oh, this is easy to get in. I don't have to duck. I can just jump in there, boom, and they jump in and they slide down on the seat and end up destroying the seat. So that's something you definitely have to be wary of. Anybody that's watching on the channel and we get a chance to do business, that means a lot to me. So seriously, thanks for that. And thanks for working through my health issues to work through your schedule.
Sure.
That flexibility means a lot too. And
we had to wait for a day when there was no snow.
Yeah, right. What is that?
Yeah.
It's melting as we speak. I mean, it's melting fast, which is good, which is really good. I'm excited. We were just talking before I went and gassed up the car for you, knowing the future of this car. And you were kind of like, oh, it's really not. I want to. What did I tell you?
Drive the car.
Drive the car.
Don't save it. Drive it.
Yeah, man, enjoy it. But it's nice to know that your intentions are down the road, leaving this for your son.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, which I think is really special. So that shows how much pride you have in the car, which I think is awesome. So it's great. So, but do enjoy it until you give it to him.
Right. Okay, I will, right?
Absolutely. I just want to thank you again. Tell your wife I said thank you.
All right. I
appreciate that very much. And before we roll out of here, we're gonna do the send off.
Send off pat. All right.
My man.
Awesome.
My man. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Rick.
If you guys remember, I talked about John when he called one time and he says, hey, if I buy this car, will you do a send-off pat on a used Corvette? I said, yeah. I think that's so cool that you guys get into that. It's so much fun for me to send you off, thanking you for the business, and getting you started on your journeys and your memories in your Corvette. Send off pat for John in Michigan. Congratulations. Thanks, and John, thank you so much. Have fun, man.
All right. Take care.
You too, sir.
See you back here for a C7.
All right, that's what I like to hear. Hey everybody, thanks a lot for joining us for today's show. Hope you had a lot of fun. Enjoy the conversation. I enjoy having you here. We've been so busy closing the month, I actually had an email finally back. I want to make that phone call and have a brief interview with the Michelin Associates and talk about all-season tires. Hopefully, we'll have that vlog up for you within the week. And then next Sunday again, don't forget to join us right here on Coffee with Conti. We're going to go live. And I'm not scared. Bring on your questions. Hey, we just roll with it, right? Absolutely. As long as we can get all the technical stuff to work, we'll go live with you right here on YouTube. And I look forward to talking to you then. Have a great day, you guys.